All right, the market's taking a nosedive today on a lot of things, but it looks like the key spark might have been when President Trump's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, warned that the U.S. will move forward on raising those tariffs, even if there's no agreement with China within 90 days. Meanwhile, the president continues, though, to voice his optimism about the deal, tweeting out this morning, quote, China talks are going very well. With us now to discuss senior fellow and director of the Center for Chinese Strategy at the Hudson Institute, Michael Pillsbury. Michael, I got to ask you, someone sent me a tweet earlier when they knew you were going to be in the show. They wanted me to also ask about why you were so positive on China 10 days ago. And you told Stewart that you knew some things, but wouldn't say until after the Rio meeting. I think people want to hear more, right? The public, the markets want to hear more details, and certainly not these conflicting reports. Kudlow's optimistic, Navarro's not.
Well, Charles, I'm mainly talking about China and what's been announced by the Chinese government in their newspapers.
It has been pretty optimistic. Tell it, but share with the audience, because of course we don't know that. We only know, the doom and gloom stuff they're going to read in the Times and the Journal, even in the Washington Post and things like that.
Well, I've studied how the Chinese negotiate about 40 years now. Lots of case studies. They admire President Trump in part because of the art of the deal. He takes the tactics of negotiation very, very seriously. And what we see with the Chinese often is the desire at the very last minute to make a deal, sometimes literally the last hour. The second thing we see with the Chinese will be scene setting and hints, sort of subtle, indirect ideas. We've seen that in the past month or so. They've announced that China is going to open its market wider than any time in the last 40 years. They've increased some of the areas for foreign investment. They've talked about how foreign services, including insurance and investment banking and so forth, can come into China in the future. They're dropping a lot of hints. They have implied that the theft of intellectual property should be criminalized. This is just a few days ago, Charles. So with these hints, with the notion that we may not get the final deal until the end of the 90 days, obviously on the American side, there's the question of what to do about this. And one idea that Peter Navarro is floating is we may have to put more pressure on. We know now the tariffs work. So I think you're seeing some people are misreading the situation.
But to that point, and you're able to read between the lines, you've done the studying, and I got to tell you, between their economy suffering mightily,
yes,
and the overtures that have been made, whether President Xi himself saying this in public or some of the things they've committed to, today we've heard the word immediate come from their side over and over. They want things to get done immediately. We will see immediate changes. These are more than olive branches. Is it time for the administration to kind of pull back a little bit? The public pushing,
yes.
Is it time to pull back a little bit, focus on the negotiations, because I think China gets the message.
That's what I told Stuart Varney, that they are moving toward what they call, in their own language, deepening of reforms. They have taken a stance that in the past, which they failed to implement, but they look like they're starting to implement it now. They've looked down on the private sector. They've relied heavily on the state-owned enterprises. So they had a sentence that said the market will be the decisive factor several years ago. It was official Chinese communist decision. Then they didn't do it. But now they're talking more and more specifically, just in the past month, Charles, about how Beijing government can help the private sector in China. This isn't a concession to the Americans. It's something they decided they better do on their own because the private sector grows faster, it's more efficient, and China's chance to take over world leadership depends on the growth of their economy. So that's why I'm optimistic. I think they want to do some of these things themselves.
Right.
As long as we don't embarrass them, or as long as we don't imply that they've surrendered because of our putting so much pressure on them. This is usually not a good idea in dealing with the Chinese. Dr. Kissinger kept everything secret, and in many cases, it's still secret. He's still holding on to some papers involving negotiating with China that are still classified top secret, so the public can't know these stories. I've been looking into this, and I admire the Chinese. I think they admire Mr. Trump in large part because they know he's made a lifetime study of the tactics of negotiation.
Right.
The art of the deal is a bestseller in China. I doubt very many Wall Street traders have even read The Art of the Deal. They should read it.
Is there a chapter on just being cool while you're winning? All right, Michael, we always enjoy hearing from you. Thank you so much. You're our go-to guy, and we always appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Charles.
All righty.